for the sprint. Sensational. Either way, no matter who's going to end up in here, is going to be your post-time favorite. So a lot of interest in the work that he would turn in this morning here at Santa Anita. Jorge Alvarez was aboard. Sensational going out a half mile here, and they've drawn comparisons, the human equivalent in track and field. They kind of call him the Usain Bolt of thoroughbreds.
And there's every right to do that because he's very, very quick. Okay, visually, this is not going to be as pretty as, say, Richard's Kid, but this is Sensational. This is how this horse runs. This is how this horse works. He's a very aggressive. The rider has to take their foot off the brake pedal rather than press the accelerator. He's aggressive. He bears out to the middle of the track, and this is just the way he works. I know it's not pretty, Tom, but we're used to seeing this out here on the West Coast.
You know, it's one thing, like in the works we've seen earlier, where you see the rider sitting against the horse and the horse is comfortable, but this is man against horse here, and Sensational is getting the best of the man here, getting out a little bit, not making the turn. Horses play like they practice. Sensational is a speed horse, a horse that goes to the front and tries to win his races that way. You can see that he does the same thing in the mornings. You're right, Simon. It's not that pretty, but when you look back at his other works, you can see that they're all black letter. They're the same style works. So as you say, this is Sensational.
Yes, it is. Sensational. That's a new word for Bob Baffert, the horse working. He works sensational because all of his work very, very good. 45-1. That's an amazing work.
That's a race. That time.
Exactly. I mean, it's not visually attractive at all, but, you know, there are a lot of athletes that don't look visually attractive in practice, but when they get to game day, they can perform, and that's the case with Sensational.
Okay, I'm kind of confused here. I mean, it's ugly, but it's good. So let's bring up our topic then. When you look at Bob Baffert's chances for the Breeders' Cup World Championships, is Sensational his best chance for a win, Frank?
No, I would say that's Sensational, because Sensational is going in the sprint, and let's face it, if he gets a bad break, if he gets a bad draw, if anything goes wrong in the sprint, it's over before you get a chance to recover. So I would say that no, it is not his best chance. I think that looking at Lucky is his best chance of winning any race. He's a favourite in the juvenile, he's been dominant so far, and let's face it, like most of the time you'll look at the also-rans in the juvenile and you get about 3 that turn out to be very good horses, and the rest probably won't be much.
I'm going to go with Sensational. I think that is his best chance, Frank, and I'll explain why. I think Looking at Lucky is a very, very talented racehorse, don't get me wrong. But the thing that's turned me off him is the results of some of the horses he's been beaten. They've come back and they've got well beaten. Richard's Kid has kind of jumped onto the radar with his work that we've seen at the top of the show. And there is always a Princess who, general consensus, we really didn't like her work. I think Sensational is the horse for Bob Baffert. I think if you put a microphone in front of him and asked him, that's the one he would pick.
You guys are both wrong. The horse is Richard's Kid. The longest price of the Baffert horse will be running the Classic. He showed his hand since he's come out to California, won the Pacific Classic, beat Einstein, loves the synthetic surface. He's the hometown favorite as far as I'm concerned, and you'll get the best price on him.
That's not what you think. I mean, you might think that, but Bob Baffert doesn't, Tom, because earlier this week he said he's going to be 20 to 1.
I'm sorry I'm wrong, Tom.
Yeah, he said he's going to be 20 to 1, and he should be that price. So it's not. It's going to be Sensational. All right, Tom?
Yeah.
But the question wasn't who Bob Baffert thinks his best chance was, what do you guys think?
Thanks for coming by defense for the first time ever, Todd.
I'll take Tom Amos in this argument, at least the way he approached it.
Just because he bought dinner last night, Todd.
Let's remind you, it's a very cheap dinner, though. Here's a reminder of who Bob Baffert has in this year's Breeders' Cup World Championships. Always a Princess in the juvenile fillies, so it seemed like all 3 of you summarily dismissed. Looking at Lucky, most likely going to be favored. Sensational, most likely going to be favored. He certainly does have some realistic chances here, even with the long shot Richard's Kid. If you'd like to be a part of these 2 championship days of racing, it really is the best value in sports. It's $10 general admission if you show up here Friday or Saturday, but if you want a seat, go to breederscup.com. You can purchase your tickets right now for both Friday, November 6th and Saturday, November 7th. When we return on The Works, we're going to talk about Looking at Lucky, and you're going to see the work earlier today. Then there's Courageous Cat preparing for the TVG Mile. That's all coming up when we return on The Works, Breeders' Cup 2009 on America's Horse Racing Network, TVG. TVG is the one place to be if you're playing the Breeders' Cup World Championships. We've got all covered for you, like this show, The Works. But right now, it is a great time to become a TVG account holder. Our sign-up promotion, Bet 50, Get 50. Go to TVG.com or pick up the phone and call 1-888-PLAY-TVG. And once you're an account holder, deposit and wager early for the Breeders' Cup. When looking at the two-day wagering menu for the Breeders' Cup World Championships, there's one word that I think of: yummy. Simon, there are so many opportunities to take your opinions and turn it into some serious money.
And no question, you can see the wagering menu there as it starts. Daily doubles rolling throughout the card, pick threes, pick fours, and even head-to-head matchups in the marathon. That's race 3. That is our first race on Breeders' Cup Friday as well.
And don't forget about the Classic double. That's the Ladies Classic on Friday, tied into the Men's Classic on Saturday. There's even a new wager on jockeys.
Yes, we're still waiting the final details of that, but depending on how many jockeys they have in the wager, it's going to be 14. You can wager on how many races a jockey will win in 2 Breeders' Cup days, and that's something that's popular overseas, and they're going to be employing it here in the U.S. now.
So who will win the most races is what you can wager on. I'm going to have to talk to my man Tony Calvin at Betfair and see what he thinks about some of those Euro jockeys coming over, because the Europeans would seem to have the advantage, and you might want to look at a jockey from overseas. Here are some of the shows to get you ready for the Breeders' Cup World Championships you can find on TVG. Thursday, it's our preview show. That'll be live from LA Live in downtown Los Angeles. We're getting out our bowling team shirts, and we'll be down there in unison. And then on Friday, I'll be previewing the Saturday card. That's at 5:30 Pacific. Both those shows, separate days, 5:30 Pacific time. TVG is also very proud to be a multi-year sponsor of the Breeders' Cup Mile, traditionally one of the best races of the 2 days.
There's no question about that, and this is a race that Europeans have had a lot of success in. The mile's been run here 7 times in Southern California Breeders' Cup history, and the Europeans have won 5 of those 7 runnings. So they have domination here, and Goldakova would head their lineup again this year, the defending champion.
Let's start with Courageous Cat for the TVG Mile. Out this morning here at Oak Tree, 5 furlongs on the turf course. The turf course obviously firm. Garrett Gomez up.
A well-bred 3-year-old, but just remember, this horse was breaking his maiden back in June and is now being entered in the Breeders' Cup Mile. That's a tough task. Bill Mott, the trainer, elected to put Mr. Sydney in the dirt mile, and here a Courageous Cat is going to be working 5 furlongs, and you can see why this horse runs on the turf. He has what we call a turf action, very high knee action. His knees are coming up to his chin, and one can understand why he probably doesn't perform on conventional dirt.
Makes a lot of sense with Courageous Cat, but when you're watching Courageous Cat here and recognizing that, you know, we're 6 days out from the race itself, what you want in the way of a work is probably something that simply gets him around the track, takes a little edge off of him, and hopefully he looks good doing it. As you watch him go around the turn here and you see how he's getting over the ground, you have to believe that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, but guys, do you see something here that's going to say that you bet on this horse in the Breeders' Cup Mile? Because I don't. I don't think he necessarily is loving this track, and I don't think he's necessarily doing the kind of thing that you want to see to win the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Yeah, he's got a very high action, I agree with you, and his one dominating win was on a yielding turf course. That maybe contributed to his action. Maybe they should have looked at a race like the Oak Tree Derby. He's a 3-year-old.
A lot of this horse's works, though, are very average if you look at the paper. So
here's
here he is by himself.
His past performances are very average. At some point, you have to say, okay, it's a great work, but does the horse have the ability to win the race? And when you have a horse who has average form with an average work, it doesn't add up for Courageous Cat.
3-year-old going against experienced older horses.
Excellent. Yep. 5 furlongs, 101 for Courageous Cat in the TVG Mile. When we return, we'll move from the turf mile back onto the dirt, and we'll be looking at Bulls Bay, who's had a phenomenal year that's kind of been under the radar. And then that update that a lot of people are looking forward to, the European update, several of them out on the track today. That's all coming up on The Works. There really is not a better time than now to become a TVG account holder. Go to TVG.com or pick up the phone and call 1-888-PLAY-TVG. We're upon 2 of the best betting days in all of thoroughbred racing here in America. Friday, November 6th and Saturday, November 7th, the Breeders' Cup World Championships. You must be 21 years or older and reside in a state where wagering services are available, like the state of California. A look now at the pre-entries for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and in its short history, it's become a much-anticipated race over the 2 days.
There's no question about that. It was a division that was dearly lacking in Breeders' Cup Championship weekend, and it certainly added a lot of luster to the program here. You can see the names up there: Mambo Meister, Master Crossman, cross-ended Midshipman, Pyro Quality Road, who's also cross-ended in the Classic. But